All right, welcome to the Success for Life podcast. I'm here with John Egan, and today, actually, and I pulled up the wrong image on there because, of course, that's what I after I fixed everything. Let me just get this right. We're going to talk about studying failure. There it is.
There it is.
Studying failure. We're going to discuss that today, and a topic obviously everybody has to deal with at some point.
Yep.
And John is here to kind of tell us a little more about what he's found out in his time and just studying this topic. And we'll dive into, what causes failure, how to overcome it, and where do you go from there?
Yep.
Welcome, John.
Dude, Coach, I appreciate you, man. I mean, before we even hit record, we were just talking about football, and I feel like both of us were like, all right, we could just talk for this whole entire time on just about football, but let's maybe focus on something at least for a little bit, and then if we want to later, we can make that shift later.
That's right. That's right. Well, it's always fun talking sports, and there's no doubt that's like just becomes like a pure joy, right? So,
yeah.
So tell us a little bit about your background. We talked a little bit beforehand about it, but I'd like everybody to really know in depth more about you.
Yeah, absolutely. So grew up my whole life playing sports, absolutely love sports. And before I can even remember, honestly, Coach, I was like, man, I want to be a basketball coach. That's my goal. Like that's my 1A right there, is to be a basketball coach or strength and conditioning coach, one of those. Right. And so I played basketball in high school, was blessed enough to then play basketball in college. And again, with the whole goal of becoming a coach. And then I graduated from college after playing 4 years basketball up at a school up in Wisconsin, and moved down to Greenville, South Carolina, and where I then was a lead basketball skills trainer. And so I was training guys from, little kids, elementary age school kids, to guys who were playing Division I, guys who were playing overseas, and kind of everything in between. And this is like a long roundabout story, kind of where how I got to where I am today. And then I got married, and again, was the whole goal of like, hey, I'm pushing forward to coach, pushing forward to coach, because I was starting to make some really good connections. And then my wife and I, we unexpectedly got pregnant, which my daughter, she's going to be turning 5 in May. She's the most wonderful thing. She's incredible. I still can't believe she's almost 5. But then that kind of caused like a little ripple in things, right? Of like, okay, what should I do now? So I ended up deciding to, got let go from there, which was tough, and then found just a normal job, like a sales job, and was there for 6 months, got let go from there. And then, in 2 weeks before I got let go from there, my daughter was born. And so my daughter was born, 2 weeks later, get let go. And during this time, in my mind, I kind of started to internalize, because I had now just gotten let go of a job 2 times in a row within a period of maybe 8 months. And so I kind of started to internalize, like, okay, I'm failing at taking care of my family. If I'm failing at that, then that makes me a failure. And so I had this conversation kind of starting to go in my head. So then I'm out of a job for 3 months. Things are tough. But then I get a coaching opportunity in Georgia. So then we moved down to Georgia, take a coaching job there. And it was really, really hard moving down there. And so we moved down there, and again, struggled really, really hard. Then at the end of that year, the AD unexpectedly said, hey, I'm going to take this coaching job. And I was like, what did I do wrong? He wouldn't give me any answer. And again, I started to internalize, man, I am failing at this. I am failing. Therefore, that makes me a failure, right? And so then we moved back to Greenville, South Carolina, where my wife's family is from. And I get a job, personal training, and I'm gone all the time. We're still struggling financially. We're at a point where there was a point where like my father-in-law was walking us through the grocery store, like myself, my wife, and my daughter, walking us through the grocery store and purchasing groceries for us. I mean, talk about humiliating, coach. I was humiliated. I was embarrassed. I was like, man, the one job that you guys put on me is to take care of your daughter, and I can't do that. I am failing at that. So again, all these things in my head started to be like, you're a failure, you're a failure, you're a failure. And so I was just then in this pit of like failing physically, failing emotionally, failing financially, failing spiritually. Therefore, I am a failure, right? Like I became that identity. So was struggling with that. Finally, through a lot of like, again, job changes, finally found a job in sales again, just to be able to take care of my family. And I finally started to get out of this mindset because I'm like, this isn't helping anybody. Like me living in this is not doing any good. So I started listening to podcasts, just putting like 10, even if it's a quick trip to the grocery store, putting my headphones in and listening to podcasts. And I started to realize, coach, that these really successful people that we look up to as heroes, they failed a lot and in some really, really big ways, but it wasn't really ever talked about, right? Like we all want to know, okay, like what does Tom Brady do in the morning? Or what did Steve Jobs do? What was his morning ritual? Or Oprah, what was her habits? Like what were those habits? We all want to know that, which is great. But what I was like, man, I feel like we're missing something. We're missing something so crucial. What did those people do after they failed? How did they respond? What did they even look at failure as? How did they even see failure? And I was like, man, this is so interesting. Like, we're not really talking about this. This is a huge part of success, though. So then I started just realize and see these people, like how they viewed failure, how they looked at it, what they did, how they responded to it. And I was like, boom, that's the key to success right there, is understanding what to do, how to respond, how to react, how to view your mind, change your mind and view failure. That's the key to success. Like that little bit right there is going to totally set you apart from everybody else.
Well, failure is a significant part of life, right? You don't fail, you learn, right? So you got to learn from your failures. They happen all the time, and it's how you overcome that adversity. What are some of the things that you've learned from studying this, and that you could share as what people can do to start to overcome those things? And maybe before that, what are the things that contribute to people failing, first of all? Yeah. And then I guess the second part is overcoming that and changing.
Yeah. I think so. Let's focus on that first part, right? Like, repeat that again. Sorry, coach. Like you said,
things that contribute to them failing, right?
Yeah. I think actually it's first and foremost, it's viewing, okay, what is failure to me, right? Like, because like that can be totally different for each person, right? And it can even be like small little failures on a day-to-day versus really big failures, huge. Day to day, it's okay, my goal was to set, to make 100 dials today for X, whatever it might be. I only hit 50. Okay. That means I failed. I missed the mark, right? Like I did not reach that goal. You could look at it that, okay, that's a failure. But the key is, okay, how do I view that failure? Am I looking at that as, oh, shoot, I failed at that. I didn't hit 50. This is why everything is going wrong, because if only I could have done this. And then you start to be like, well, I had this come up throughout the day and this come up. And you start to just come up with all these excuses, which could be totally valid. Like right now, I'm working from home. I've got a daughter who's almost 5. I've got a 6-month-old son, and we're all cooped up in the same house. And so it can be really easy for me to just get caught up in things and come up with these, excuses and whatever it is. But I think realizing, okay, what is failure to me? Like, what does that ultimately mean? And how am I going to now use that failure, that lesson, to better myself tomorrow? And I think that's really key, is number one, more than anything, becoming very, very self-aware of like, what is failure to me? Why does it bother me when I do fail? And so being able to ask yourself those questions really first and foremost, that's going to start to like change your lens and help you understand yourself on how to look at failure. And then that's also going to help how you shape success as well. Like those two things, they go hand in hand, failure and success. Like oftentimes people think they're on opposite ends of the spectrum. Man, that's the farthest thing from the truth. Like they are the same. They're two sides of the same coin, failure and success. And so being able to understand one is going to help shape the other one as well.
And from a learning standpoint, now where do you go from there? So you failed, you got to pick yourself up. What do people have to do? What have you done that's helped?
Yeah. So two things. One, again, being very self-aware, but then also reflecting, spending time reflecting. And that doesn't have to be like, for 15 minutes, I sit alone in a room all by myself where it's completely quiet. Because, man, if you're anything like me, gosh, trying to do that for like 2 minutes, like that's tough enough, right? But I think for me, and this is something that I've done even without even thinking about it, heck, since I was college, is at the end of the day, I'm laying down in bed and I just reflect on the day. I just reflect and I say, okay, like, where did I fail today? Where did I fall short? Okay, what did I learn from that? And then how will then I use that new knowledge? How will I then use that to make tomorrow better? And putting yourself in positions to fail, putting yourself in positions where you are uncomfortable, that's going to help you grow as a human being, even if it's something super, super, super small, so minuscule, but you're failing at it, you're falling short of it. And then you learn from it, you apply it to your day the next day, and then all of a sudden you stack all those up on each other. You keep stacking. Gosh, I mean, Coach, you look back to where you were a year ago, 2 years from doing those things, man, you're going to be a totally different person, going in a totally different direction.
The key is in order to stack those successes, I think we overestimate what we can do in a day, and we underestimate what we can do in a lifetime, right? So just stacking those little successes, we're trying to, get everything done right now and just get some successes each day will get you towards that end goal. We kind of worry too much about what has to happen at the end instead of just worried about taking care of each thing each and every day.
Yeah.
Really good point. So tell me a little bit more about your study of this, and are there like some key takeaways and some key learning things when studying failure?
Yeah, I think it all goes back to self-awareness, like being very self-aware. And heck, I mean, when I was playing basketball, both high school and college, man, Coach, I beat myself up so badly. Even when I was on the court, I'd miss a shot and I'd start to beat myself up. I wouldn't box out or I'd miss a rebound. I'd beat myself up, turn the ball over, beat myself up. And by doing that, by beating myself up, I'm putting that whole focus on myself, right? And I'm saying, oh, I'm the worst. I'm doing this. Whereas then if I'm able to step back and be like, okay, yeah, I missed a shot, or I turn the ball over. Okay, next time this happens, maybe I don't look exactly to where I'm passing the ball, right? Maybe, or just learn something from it. And by doing that, then you're caring more about the team and you're caring more about the end result rather than just yourself, right? Like you're able to take that out. And so again, just being very self-aware and reflecting, like those are the biggest things that will help shift and shape your lens, your mindset on failure and on success. And I heard this. I had someone on my show a while back, Coach. She's an author. Her and her husband wrote a book called The Purpose Factor. If anyone is looking for a new book, go check it out. It was on Yahoo's like top 20 books of 2020. Like it's really, really good. And she said something to me. She said, failure is redeemable for purpose. And coach, I just like, whoa, like when she said that. And I absolutely loved it, because that if we're able to see failure as it's redeemable for purpose, then it kind of takes the end result out of it. Like it really helps you focus on the process of it, because no matter if you fail or you succeed, as long as you're learning from it, that's okay. And even your failure can help somebody else learn from it. And that's redeemable for purpose. And so being able to see failure as, man, I'm not so focused on the end result. It's all part of the process. It's all part of it. Like it takes the pressure of, oh, I got to succeed. I got to succeed. I got to succeed. I got to succeed. It's like, yes, you do. Like you don't want to string 12, 15, 100 failures together, right? Like you need to be successful, but don't get so bogged down in each and every failure.
Yeah, I think that being hard on yourself, and some of the most driven people, that's the issue, is they're so hard on themselves that when they fail, it's hard for them to gather themselves. They're expecting perfection, and we're not searching for perfection, because perfection is impossible. You're looking to do the very best you can, and then adapt when that doesn't work out, and then do the very best you can again. I think that's the key. And I think, what do you think about, like, so the self-awareness, I think, is a key part of it. Does self-awareness help you with, let me think of the best way to put this, your conscious understanding of putting something that goes wrong into a box and then not compartmentalizing it versus letting it become all encompassing? Like you realize, okay, this happened and I contributed to it in this way, or someone else contributed to it as well. Being able to compartmentalize that, being self-aware of what you did and then what others have done, and then figuring out what the best solution might be there. So I think that's an important part of it. And I think it's really, really critical. So what do you think about that? I mean, where do these things tie in? Like, is compartmentalizing failure? Is this part of the process?
Yeah, I think where self-awareness really, really steps in and helps you is that, one, it helps you not identify as a failure, because you're able to just you're able to understand that, okay, you're almost able to take yourself out of it. Like you're almost able to step back, and really helps you understand that, like, okay, yes, I failed. Why did I fail? Why does it bother me when I fail? What am I going to learn from this failure? And the thing is, coach, it's not, I'm not saying, and I hope people don't take this away. I'm not saying that like we should overly be like, yeah, woohoo, I failed. Yeah. Like this is great. Right. And be excited about it. Or like, you know, like I said earlier, you don't want to string together like 10, 15, 20, 30 failures. Like you need to string some successes in there. Like, or else, like if you're a business and you just fail, like you're going to shut down. Right. Or like if you're playing sports and you just lose, that coach is going to lose his job. Like, like that's going to happen. But what I am saying is that where self-awareness can step in is that, again, you're able to take a step back from that current situation and say, okay, what did I learn from this? Why does it bother me when I fail? Am I embarrassed about it? Do I feel like I'm being judged from it? And you're able to just like ask yourself these questions. And by doing that, then you start to realize that, like, man, like, okay, maybe this isn't as big a deal as I thought it would be. Or in the sense of like, okay, again, you ask yourself, okay, what did I learn from this? Oh, I learned this. Or maybe like, okay, you try to start a business, right? And you try to open up a gym and it's just not clicking for you. Whatever it is, it's just not clicking. And you ask yourself like, man, why is this not clicking? Why is my gym failing? And you could ask yourself and realize like, I actually don't like this part of the gym, or actually hate this part. And then by doing that, then you can either maybe bring someone else in on your team who does like that part, or heck, you could even just say, nah, you know what? I'm just going to shut this down because I really don't like it as much as I thought that I did. And again, like that's where self-awareness helps you, is that it helps you realize what you've learned from it, how you can then apply it to the next day, to the next situation, just by asking yourself those questions. Like taking 2 minutes at the end of the day when you're laying in bed and asking yourself those questions will just, again, it's minuscule, but man, it's going to make all the difference.
Yeah, I think absolutely. I think a huge part is, and we talk about, you can't string together a bunch of failures. How do you accelerate the learning process? Do you have any tools for that, accelerating the learning process so you fail less, or they're smaller failures until you get to the successes? What is?
Well, I think that right there is where. I think that right there is where is even a little misconception, right, to success, is because, okay, like people often say like failure is not an option. I disagree. I 100% think, I know that failure is an option. Like it is. It absolutely is. And so if we're going to fail, when we know that we're going to fail, we know we're going to put ourselves in those positions to fail. Let's learn from that. And then we're going to apply that learning to the next situation, and where we're going to succeed, we're going to be successful in. And we're just going to keep moving, man. Like we are moving. Yes, I succeeded in this. Now I have a different goal. That goal is a little bit outside of my comfort zone. So I got to push myself to where I might fail, where I might be uncomfortable, where I might make a mistake, whatever it might be. I might look like an idiot, but that's okay because I'm learning. Then I'm going to apply it to my next situation. And I'm just like, I'm pushing forward, and I'm not getting bogged down by each and every failure that happens, because I know that like, yep, I failed at that. I learned from this. Boom, I'm on to the next one. Right. And something that I tell people a lot is, okay, you failed. Yes, that sucks. Failure hurts. It's painful. I've been there. I've lived it. My family has lived it, and it sucks. So do what you need to do in the sense of, sit in that failure, sit in that pain, whether it's 5 minutes, whether it's an hour, heck, whether it's 24 hours. But during that time, you set a timer for yourself. You set a timer for 15 minutes. For those 15 minutes, you're going to sit in that pain of failure. You're going to sit in that pain of whatever it might be. And you're going to really dive into it. And you're really going to try to understand it. And you're really going to ask yourself those tough questions. Once that timer goes off, though, boom, it's done. It's behind you. You learned from it. You're on to the next one. And you don't sit in that failure anymore once that timer goes off. Like you are just continuously moving forward. So I think that's the biggest thing right there, Coach, is just understand that you are going to fail. And when you do, try to just ask yourself those questions and move through those as quick as possible. And then you're applying that to your life, and you're, again, trying it again. This time you're going to succeed at it. Okay, what did I learn from that success? Boom. Now you're going to move on again. You might fail again, and that's okay. Ask yourself those questions. Boom, 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 boom. I'm going to succeed. Boom, I'm going to succeed again. Boom, I'm going to fail. I might fail 2 or 3 times in a row, but that's okay. What am I learning? What am I taking away from it? Boom, I'm going to succeed. And again, you're just moving. You're just continuously striving and moving forward and improving.
Last question, mentorship. Where does mentorship fall into all this and help you in this process?
Mentorship. That's a great question, Coach. I think having a mentor helps you realize, like someone who's been there before, someone who's done it before, helps you realize that like those failures along the way, again, like they're going to happen, right? Like they are going to happen. Those losses along the way are going to happen. And having someone who's been there, who's walked in those shoes will help you talk through that. Like, hey, like this is okay. It's all part of it. What did you learn from it? And then able to help you verbalize it. able to ask you those questions and then able to help you kind of work through the process of it. So I think being able to have a mentor that can ask you those tough questions is absolutely huge in helping you understand that, yeah, losses happen, failure happens, but what did you learn from it? Why did that happen? And let's just keep moving forward. How can you apply it to the next situation?
Yeah, I think someone else's experience certainly can help you, especially accelerate the learning process. Well, I really appreciate you coming on today. It was great having you. I learned a ton. Tell everybody where they can find you, find out about you, get in touch with you.
Yeah. So my podcast, Studying Failure, you can find it wherever you listen to podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Audible, Stitcher, wherever. You can also go onto my website, studyingfailure.com, Instagram, Studying Failure. And yeah, that's those are kind of the hubs.
Cool. What did you say? Studyingfailure.com?
Studyingfailure.com. Yes, sir.
And do you do like any coaching with anybody or anything like that? Or what is it? How do you make the living?
Yeah.
Obviously, all this is great, so.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've got some I've got some things that I'm working on right now as far as coaching and as far as developing, as far as even like a journal that I'm working on that will walk you through these questions and will help you set goals for the day, will help you then reflect and what questions you should ask. So I'm working on that. So I've got a number of things that are in the works right now. That'll be coming out. So if you head over to my website, studyingfailure.com, and again, and just there's something that you can download on there called download from learning from famous failures. You can download that, and then that'll kind of keep you in the loop on anything coming up here shortly, actually, that I'm working on.
Perfect. So go to studyingfailure.com. We'll put that in the show notes. At Studying Failure, right, at Instagram. Yep. Twitter as well, or anything like that?
Twitter is John Egan. Twitter is just my name.
Okay.
That's where I live, brother.
Awesome. Well, another great episode of Successful Life Podcast. Thank you, John, for coming on the show. You guys can, if you like these episodes, like, subscribe. I don't understand the YouTube algorithm, but I guess this is what you're supposed to say at the end of every podcast. Probably at the beginning, I probably should have said it as well. But like and subscribe. Follow John Egan. Follow me at Coach Human everywhere you can search. You can find it there, and you can go and listen to it if you want to listen to it again on iTunes, Spotify, you name it, it's on there. And thanks, John, for being on the podcast.
Coach, appreciate you coming on, bringing me on, brother. I appreciate it. It was a lot of fun.
My pleasure.
Yes, sir.